Well, I'm just going to give you another insight into top dressing another raised bed. Plus, I'll get a bit on my tunnel and you'll have some extras and all. This bed had exactly the same this time last year, meaning I'm feeding the soil. It's very rare I give any feed during the growing season. It's already in the soil. Feed the soil, it's easier. Exactly the same again. Spent mushroom compost. This is a good brew. That one goes on first on here. You got your bare soil. This has been covered with a weed suppressant. It's always kept moist. If it's kept moist, the bacteria, fungi and the microbes it kept working away. If it dries out, they'll just be ticking over. Exactly the same as my compost bins, leaf mould bins down the plot. If you keep them moist, nature will carry on going. So the weed suppressants come off. I've covered the first bit of soil with the spent mushroom compost. The next bit has had leaf mould, and I worked my way around. Then we got this was because I do a lot of trial and error. I'm always trying to get the best out of what I'm able to do. This was not a cock up, but it was something I found last year and it worked. The one disadvantage with having raised beds, the biggest thing is they dry out quicker. Meaning if you go on holiday for 2 weeks, I've got to make down the plot to look after my tunnel, but I ain't got time to look after my raised beds. If they dry out and we don't get no rain, then obviously the crops are going to be under strain because I'm drying out. So what I started doing was top dressing all my raised beds with straw. Keeps the moisture in and the warmth, and it works. But keeping the straw, obviously I bag it up. I just put the top over and I put a house brick on it. But this one bag, moisture obviously got in there, and this is how it ended up. This was after 3 months. That was just a bag of straw. And that's how it's turned out. Bloody beautiful stuff. So that's another ingredient now what I'm working on. So that is this one. If you want to come down here a bit and follow this. So that was just straw. Obviously if you just do a bag of straw, throw a bit of weight and then put a house brick on it. Next one is my garden compost, which is this one here. Don't forget this will be full of worms as well. That's what's going to do your digging. Next one, worm casts, another good one, love it. If you got a contact for that, if they are local, we used to have one up Chesterfield. I know to get the bags fresh, obviously there. The bags I used to bring them, obviously get them full of young worms and worm eggs. And by the time I got home with the warmth, I got my own bloody worm farm. If you can get them fresh, perfect. So that was the next layer. So I'm having a layer of everything. Next one on the end, this is os muck. Whatever muck you use, that's where you're going to get your worms from again. Don't matter whether it's cow, goat, llama, pig, os, don't matter. That's where you get your worms. You've got to have your worms in there. Right, that's that one. That's all my layers. Next thing I'm going to do, this is my reaming volcanic rock dust. Exactly the same down the plot or any raised beds. It's going to have a good dressing of this. That's on here. The next one, my charge, which is my beetle crap. That's had a sprinkling. You can either mix this with a compost, top dress it. What I'm doing here is just putting a layer on there. Then what I've done is forked everything in. Only down to about 3 or 4 inches. And then I'll give it a good soaking. And I mean a good soaking. Probably a full watering can to square yard. Then I cover it with a weed suppressant. Then nature will take over once again. Then worms will start taking everything down below, and the fungi bacteria start working. Exactly the same as my compost bins or my leaf mould down the plot. Exactly the same as here. Every 10 days I do a moisture check. Just lift the lid on the bin, or exactly the same here. Just lift the weed suppressant, and if it needs watering, meaning I can't see a worm, then I'll give it a watering. I want that soil to keep working until I'm going to use the bed again. Right, while we're here, this was a new tunnel I built last year. The original one, the bloody wind took it halfway down the road. And my mate made one similar down the plot, so I nicked his ideas. Basically, these are scaffolding poles. Them are hammered straight in. And then I've got a gas piping, 64mm, and this is solid as hell. This ain't bloody going nowhere. If this goes the arse, I'll go. But the thing is with I mean, Visqueen, proper horticultural plastic, that'll get at least 7 years out of that. But with a tunnel or anything else, growing anything, you've got to have ventilation. That's why I've got good vents all the way around, and that door as well. It's exactly the same as if I treat all my plants and everything else like I do with adults. If you've got a weak plants, any disease or anything to go about, then they're going to go down first. If you've got good ventilation, then they're used to it. They're used to the fresh air and whatever nature throws at you. If you're on a couch potato, you'll sit at home all day, you don't get no fresh air. You're going to come down with man flu before anything else. Exactly the same with these lot. What else can I tell you while I'm here? Right, all the grub is in here. The only thing I'm going to do, about 2 weeks before I plant out, these will have pot leeks in, exhibition pot leeks. But 2 weeks before I plant out, this is in any bed. The only fertiliser I put on is seaweed meal. And that's a natural product, meaning because I'm not using fertilisers, that there's no build up of salts. So I know my soil's going to be good. But that's the only feed I use. Foliar feeds, well, it ain't the only feeds, because throughout the growing season I use foliar feeds, and I alternate them weekly. It's usually compost tea, because I make my own compost tea, and obviously later on in the season I potash for getting you nice green dark leaves. That's about it, I think, in here. But basically just give them a bit of grub, because if I'm growing pot leeks in here and I get some corkers out, which I'm going to, they're taking all the nutrients out of the soil. At the end of the season, you've got to put it back. And the best way to put it back is use natural products, not bloody fertilisers. With here, I've got the drainage. I'm all raised beds, I've got the drainage. There ain't going to be no water logging. So I know the plant's just going to take what it wants, and the rest is going to disappear. When I do plant out, this is covered with black and white plastic, and I plant through the plastic. That's horticultural plastic, and that keeps the moisture and the warmth in. Black side down, white side up, and the white reflects the heat and the light back onto the plants. So with the weed suppressant, the plastic is doing exactly the same. It's keeping the moisture and warmth in there, and the plants are just go away, happily away. Right, that's about it. Cheers, gang.